Double dip. That's the whole game. When Ticketmaster sells you a BTS ticket at face value, they pocket around $30. But when that exact same seat gets flipped on their own resale platform, they collect $375. Same chair, same show, same night, and the company just made 12 times more money because a scalper touched it first. So when Ticketmaster stands in front of Congress and swears they're fighting scalpers, follow the money instead of the mission statement. On paper, scalpers aren't the enemy. They're the most profitable customers Ticketmaster has. The lockouts, the crashes, the seats that vanish in seconds, that's not simply a broken system. Broken or not, it works exactly the way it pays to. And no fan base on Earth has stress-tested it harder than ARMY. Every time BTS announces a tour, millions of fans hit the portals in the same instant. The permission to dance on stage run, the solo tours, the full group return the whole fandom's been holding its breath for, and every single time the same thing happens. Primary tickets evaporate in seconds. Minutes later, those identical seats resurface on the verified resale market at 10 to 20 times face value. $60 seats reselling past $1,000, some north of $8,000, and the news frames it as a tragedy of supply and demand. Helpless software, clever bots, nobody's fault. That story is a smokescreen. Because the parent company, Live Nation Entertainment, controls the vast majority of major primary ticketing in the United States, by most estimates. They don't just sell the tickets, they own or operate the venues. They promote the tours. And they run the resale exchange where those same tickets get flipped. When one company controls the tour, owns the stadium, and runs both the original sale and the resale, keeping prices low actually costs them money. So they don't. They just want the biggest possible number moving through that machine, and they don't care whether the dollar comes from a fan or a scalper. They just want the dollar. And ARMY has watched this play out on a scale nobody else can match. When demand is this violent and this global, the gap between face value and resale isn't a rounding error. It's the whole business. Which raises the obvious question: how much more does the company actually make when your ticket gets scalped? Ticketing is Live Nation's most profitable business by a mile. Margins in the 30 to 40% range, while actually promoting the concerts earns low single digits. And their own disclosures tie that ticketing growth straight to secondary volume. But the cleanest way to feel it is to run the numbers on Ticketmaster's own published fees. Through that double-sided fee model, one scalped ticket can pull in as much as 1,150% more for the company than the same ticket sold to a real fan at face value. Here's how that math works. Take a $200 BTS ticket. Sold clean, at face value, Ticketmaster pulls roughly $30 in service and processing fees. Now take that same ticket, scraped in seconds, and relisted on Ticketmaster's own verified resale page for $1,500. Now the fees stack. They charge the seller a 15% fee. That's $225, then they turn to the buyer and charge another 10%. $150 more, one seat. On that example, $30 of profit just became $375. The scalper isn't stealing from Ticketmaster. The scalper is doing Ticketmaster's job for them. So here's the part that never makes the press release. If Ticketmaster killed every bot and shut down speculative resale tomorrow, the money flowing through their secondary market would shrink hard, and a chunk of their highest margin profit would go with it. That doesn't mean they engineered the bots. It means they've got almost no reason to truly win the war against them. The higher your resale price climbs, the fatter their cut. Which leads to the question every fan eventually asks. If this is so obviously tilted, why don't the artists just ban resale? Why doesn't BTS themselves shut it down? The answer's a trap written into the buildings. When BTS played 4 nights at SoFi Stadium, 1.4 million people flooded Ticketmaster's queue for 214,000 seats. 4 shows that grossed $33 million. The biggest single venue run in North America in 18 years. That level of demand doesn't exist anywhere else in live music. And Hybe, BTS's own company, saw this coming. They built Weverse to get ahead of it. Through the Weverse fan club presale, they tried to verify who you actually are before you ever reach the ticketing page. Real fans first, bots locked out. Inside their own ecosystem, it works. But the moment a global tour lands in North America or Europe, Hybe slams into something they can't code their way around. Exclusive venue lock-in. If BTS want to play SoFi Stadium or MetLife Stadium or Wembley, those buildings run their ticketing through Ticketmaster by contract. The artist doesn't pick the ticketing company. The building does. Play the venue, you play by its rules. And these aren't loose handshake deals. Exclusivity at a top-tier venue can run anywhere from 3 to 14 years, and straight out of the DOJ's own complaint. Hybe can build the most airtight verification on the planet, and the second BTS step onto a stage in Los Angeles or London, control of the transaction snaps right back to Ticketmaster. The pre-sale is protected. The resale market on the other side never was. This is exactly the kind of stranglehold that finally dragged Live Nation into court. The U.S. Department of Justice, joined by dozens of states, filed a sweeping antitrust lawsuit to break the company apart, citing exclusive venue contracts, long lock-ins, and its grip on both sides of the market. And this wasn't the first warning. The merger that fused Live Nation and Ticketmaster into one giant back in 2010 came with legal guardrails, a consent decree, and regulators later found the company had crossed them anyway. And here's the detail that stops industry analysts cold. During BTS stadium runs, tens of thousands of ticketless ARMY show up anyway, filling the areas around the venue just to hear the show bleed through the walls. No other act pulls that kind of devotion from people who never got a seat. Thousands of them, paying nothing, contributing nothing to the box office, showing up purely to stand near the sound. It happened outside SoFi. It's happened at stadium runs across the map. When a Gust D toured solo, demand was so violent that Ticketmaster scrapped the general on sale entirely. The whole US run sold out in the ARMY member presale, before regular sales ever opened. Now compare that to home. In Japan, reselling designated tickets above face value is banned outright by law. And South Korea moved hard against the bots and macro programs that power mass scalping, tightening its Public Performance Act to choke the automation off at the source. Those markets lean on identity-verified sales and lottery draws, so a ticket stays much closer to what it was priced at, and real fans get pushed toward the front of the line. This split isn't an accident of culture, it's law versus loophole. Those markets treat a ticket like what it is, a pass to see an artist, not a stock to flip. The West left the door open, and a monopoly made itself at home. Because in Western markets, platforms deploy dynamic pricing, an algorithm that pushes the face value up and down in real time, based on how hard everyone's fighting for it. The platform starts behaving like its own scalper, grabbing the demand margin before the ticket even hits resale. That's the quiet genius of it. Ticketmaster doesn't have to break a single law. They just have to own every link in the chain: the venue, the pre-sale, the resale, the fees on both ends, and let human desperation do the rest. Multiply that by tens of millions who'd move mountains to see 7 men on a stage, and you see why BTS became the ultimate stress test for the model. So the machine is enormous, it's mostly legal, and it's protected by the very buildings BTS need to perform in. Which leaves one last question. How does a fandom with no venues, no contracts, and no lobbyists actually push back on something this big? Simple. ARMY stopped acting like a fan base and started acting like a force. When the system failed them, ARMY did what ARMY always does. They organized at scale. They documented what was happening, screenshot by screenshot, receipt by receipt, and they turned private frustration into loud, coordinated public pressure. The kind that feeds straight into the scrutiny regulators were already ramping up. And that fight is loyal to something BTS built from day one. 7 guys from a tiny company who sang about people getting squeezed by systems bigger than them, who kept finding ways to stay reachable. Cheap early shows, free live streams, concerts beamed to fans who could never fly in. And this is bigger than any one fandom. A whole wave of ticketing meltdowns, superstar tours buckling the same broken system over and over, piled into a backlash loud enough to move Washington. It helped push real legislation. Bills like the Fans First Act aimed squarely at the resale mess. Fans didn't just complain about the rules anymore, they became a reason the rules started to change. Because that's the thing these corporations keep underestimating. Turn genuine love into an endless extraction machine, and you don't get a quiet customer base. You get an audience that studies you, organizes against you, and doesn't let go. So where do you land? Should the West rip out this whole model and copy the identity-locked, resale-restricted systems that Japan and Korea run? No flipping, no scalping, no exceptions. Or should reselling stay legal but get hard-capped at face value so nobody profits off your seat but you? Tell me in the comments. Because this argument is about to get very loud. Because while Live Nation spent years locking up every stadium in the West, HYBE spent those same years quietly building something else entirely. A direct-to-fan digital empire designed to make the old gatekeepers irrelevant. And if you want to see how HYBE plans to march BTS straight past Ticketmaster's venue trap before their 2026 reunion tour, the whole strategy is broken down right here. Tap in.